All right. You opened your home to this woman, and now you're standing here telling me she walked out with $4,000 and your fiancé's loyalty. Which one hurts more?
Both, ma'am. Both of them hurt.
How long was she living with you?
7 months, ma'am.
7 months. And when did you notice the money was missing?
About 3 weeks after she left, I went to move some money from savings to cover my car note, and it was just gone.
Gone. All $4,000?
$4,260, ma'am, to the penny.
And you? Why did she let you stay in her house?
We were best friends, ma'am. She offered because I had just lost my apartment lease. I wasn't begging. She offered.
She offered. All right. And the money, did you take it?
Absolutely not, ma'am. I didn't take a single dollar from that woman.
Let's slow down. Denise, you said you noticed the money was gone 3 weeks after she left. What made you check?
Because my fiancé, Marcus, started acting strange right around the time Rochelle left. He wasn't coming home on time. He was quiet. He was distant. Then a mutual friend told me she'd seen Rochelle and Marcus together at a restaurant out in Roseville. Not exactly a neighborhood either of them had any reason to be in. That's when I started paying close attention to everything, and the money was just gone.
So the money and the fiancé started disappearing at roughly the same time?
Yes, ma'am. I believe those two things are very much connected.
Rochelle, were you at a restaurant in Roseville with Marcus?
I ran into him, ma'am. It was completely coincidental. We were both there, we had a meal, that's it. I didn't plan to be anywhere with that man.
You ran into your best friend's fiancé in Roseville, which is, 40 minutes from where you all live?
I had a job interview out that way, ma'am. I stopped to eat.
And he just happened to be at the same restaurant?
Yes, ma'am. I know how it sounds.
It sounds terrible. Denise, tell me about the savings. Whose name was on the account?
Just mine, ma'am. It was my personal savings account. I had been putting money in there for 2 years, bit by bit. That was supposed to be our wedding fund, mine and Marcus's. I didn't tell very many people about it, but Rochelle knew. She knew about it because one night we were sitting on my porch talking, and I told her exactly how much was in it and what it was for. I trusted her with that. She was my best friend.
So she knew you had that money, she knew what it was for, and she knew roughly how much was in it?
Yes, ma'am, all three.
Rochelle, you knew about the savings account?
She may have mentioned saving money. I don't recall the specifics, ma'am. We talked about a lot of things on that porch. I wasn't cataloging her finances.
She may have mentioned it. You don't recall whether your best friend told you she was saving money for her wedding? That's a pretty memorable conversation.
I'm saying I don't remember it clearly, ma'am. That's all I'm saying.
How was the money taken? Meaning, was it a withdrawal, a transfer? What happened exactly?
The bank told me it was an in-person withdrawal, ma'am. Someone walked into a branch location and took it out in cash. I hadn't been to that branch in over a year. It wasn't me.
In person, with your ID, your account number, what?
That's what I can't fully explain, ma'am, and it's driving me crazy. My ID was in my purse at all times. But I know that Rochelle, at least twice while she was staying with me, used my laptop because hers was broken. She was on there for hours sometimes. I don't know what she had access to, and I know my banking app was stored on there with a saved login.
You let her use your laptop?
She was my best friend, ma'am. I wasn't watching her like a security guard.
Did it ever occur to you that having a saved banking login on a laptop you were sharing was a problem?
Hindsight, ma'am, I trusted her completely. That was my mistake.
Rochelle, did you use her laptop?
Yes, ma'am. My laptop was broken, and she let me use hers to look for work and handle some personal things. But I was not going through her accounts. I don't even know how you withdraw money from someone else's account in person. That requires their ID and their signature.
That's actually a fair point, and I want to come back to it. Denise, the bank said it was an in-person withdrawal. Did they tell you whether ID was presented, and if so, whose?
They said an ID was presented, but they couldn't give me more detail than that without a full fraud investigation, which I've requested. What I do know is that my spare ID, I have a secondary state ID card, not a driver's license. I got it years ago when mine was suspended temporarily. That spare ID was in my desk drawer. I found the drawer open the morning after Rochelle left. I didn't think anything of it then. But that ID is gone, ma'am. I can't find it anywhere.
So a secondary ID is missing from a drawer that you found open the morning after she left your house?
Yes, ma'am, exactly.
Rochelle, did you go through her desk drawer?
I did not go through her desk drawer, ma'am. I was a guest in that house, not a burglar. I moved out because things were getting tense between us. She was getting paranoid about me and Marcus, even though nothing was happening. And I didn't want to cause problems in her home, so I left quietly. That's all.
Things were getting tense. What kind of tension?
Denise has always had jealousy issues, ma'am. Not just with me, with a lot of people. She felt like Marcus paid attention to me because we'd all hang out together sometimes. He was being friendly because I was her friend. She took it wrong and started making comments, giving me looks. It became uncomfortable, and I decided I needed to leave for everyone's sake.
She has jealousy issues, you say. Denise, do you have jealousy issues?
Ma'am, I have never had a problem with jealousy in my life. What I had was a woman in my house who was flirting with my fiancé at the dinner table. While I was washing dishes in the next room, I heard it. I walked back in and I saw the body language, and I am not a fool. Was I supposed to pretend I didn't see what I saw?
What specifically did you hear?
She was laughing in this particular way she has, very soft, very close, and she said to him, "You're a lot more interesting than she gives you credit for." I heard that word for word, ma'am, and when I came back into the room, she stopped talking mid-sentence. Marcus looked at his plate. Neither of them said anything.
You're a lot more interesting than she gives you credit for, said to her best friend's fiancé in her best friend's home.
That is a completely innocent comment taken wildly out of context, ma'am. We were talking about Marcus's job. He works in HVAC, and he was explaining a complicated system he'd installed. I was impressed. That's all that meant.
I see. So when you said he's more interesting than she gives him credit for, you were complimenting his ductwork.
I was complimenting his knowledge, yes, ma'am.
Right. I've been around long enough to know what that sentence means, and it is not about ductwork. When did you leave the house?
About 2 weeks after that dinner, ma'am, I started making arrangements to stay with a cousin of mine, and once I had a place to go, I packed up and left. Denise was at work when I moved out. I left her a note on the kitchen counter.
You left while she was at work.
I didn't want a confrontation, ma'am. She had already made it clear she didn't want me there.
Denise, did she pay any rent while she was living with you?
The arrangement was that she'd help with utilities and groceries, ma'am. She paid maybe $60 in utilities the first month and then nothing after that. I didn't push it because I felt sorry for her situation. She said she was struggling to find work and I didn't want to add to her stress. I covered everything. 7 months of rent, all the utilities, all the food, everything.
So you housed her, fed her, covered all the bills, let her use your laptop, and treated her like a member of your family.
Yes, ma'am, I did all of that.
And she's telling me you had jealousy issues.
Yes, ma'am, that's what she's saying.
Rochelle, is there a witness here with you?
Yes, ma'am. My cousin Tanya. She can speak to my character and also to the fact that she picked me up from Denise's house the day I moved out.
I'll hear from her. Bring the witness in.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
How are you related to the defendant?
She's my first cousin, ma'am. We grew up together. I know her very well.
You know her very well. All right. You picked her up from Denise's house?
Yes, ma'am. She called me that morning and said she needed to move out that day. I drove over with my brother's truck and we loaded up her things. It took maybe 2 trips to the truck. She had a duffel bag, some boxes, a couple pieces of furniture she'd brought with her.
What time did you arrive at the house?
Around 10:30 in the morning, ma'am. Maybe 10:45.
Was Denise home?
No, ma'am. Nobody was there except Rochelle.
How long were you inside the house?
Maybe 45 minutes total, ma'am. Rochelle had most of her things already packed. We were in and out pretty fast.
Did you go into other rooms that were not Rochelle's room?
I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water, ma'am. And I walked through the living room to get to the door. That's it. I wasn't exploring the house.
And Rochelle, did you see her go into any other rooms? An office, a bedroom that wasn't hers, anything like that?
Not that I saw, ma'am. She was focused on getting her boxes out. She seemed upset, like she'd been crying. She just wanted to leave.
She seemed upset. Did she tell you why she was leaving?
She said her friend was accusing her of things that weren't true, and she couldn't stay somewhere she wasn't trusted. She was hurt, ma'am. That much was clear.
Did she mention Marcus at all?
She mentioned that Denise had been making comments about her and Marcus being too friendly. She said she'd just been talking to him normally, and Denise had taken it the wrong way.
Did she mention anything about money?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Did she seem nervous, anxious, rushed, like she needed to get out before someone got home?
She seemed emotional, ma'am. She was crying on and off. I wouldn't describe it as nervous exactly. More like she was just done with the whole situation and ready to go.
Tanya, I want to ask you something directly. You are her first cousin. You grew up together. Is it possible Rochelle behaved in a way you simply didn't see, or that you are telling this story in the most favorable way for her because she is your family?
Ma'am, I understand why you'd ask that. I can only tell you what I saw. I wasn't with her the entire 45 minutes because I made a second trip to the truck on my own. So I don't know what she did in every single moment. What I can tell you is what I personally observed, and I've tried to be honest about that.
That's the most honest thing anyone has said in this courtroom today. You may step back.
Thank you, ma'am.
Rochelle, Tanya just told me she made a separate trip to the truck on her own. So there were windows of time when you were alone in that house. Do you understand how that looks?
I understand, ma'am, but I used those moments to finish packing my own things. I was not in Denise's office or anywhere near her desk. I had no reason to be.
You had no reason to be, but you did have a reason to want money, didn't you? You hadn't paid rent in months. You were, by your own account, struggling financially. You knew she had over $4,000 sitting in a savings account. That's a reason.
Needing money doesn't make me a thief, ma'am. Lots of people need money. I have never stolen anything in my life.
I didn't say needing money makes you a thief. I said you had a reason. There is a difference. Denise, this secondary ID, how old was it?
I got it maybe 6 years ago, ma'am. I kept it just as a backup. I don't use it regularly, so it could have been sitting in that drawer for years, and I wouldn't have noticed it was gone until I went looking specifically, which I did once I started putting everything together.
Does that ID look like you, current you?
I mean, it's 6 years old. My hair was different, but the features are the same, ma'am. I'm not a completely different person.
And Rochelle, would you say you and Denise have any physical resemblance, height, coloring, build?
We're both Black women of similar height, ma'am, but we don't look alike. Anyone who knows us would know immediately which one of us is which.
Anyone who knows you. What about a bank teller who has never seen either of you before, looking at a 6-year-old ID photo?
Ma'am, I did not go to any bank. I don't know what else to tell you.
You've been saying, I don't know, and I don't remember, and I didn't do it this entire time. What I haven't heard is an alternative explanation. If you didn't take the money, who did?
I think Denise should look at Marcus, ma'am. He had access to her life the same way I did. More so, actually. And if he was keeping things from her, money could be part of that.
Now Marcus is the thief.
I'm not saying he's the thief, ma'am. I'm saying I'm not the only person with opportunity, and Denise is so focused on me that she may not be looking at who's right next to her.
Denise, is Marcus here?
No, ma'am. Marcus and I are no longer together. He moved out about a month after Rochelle did. He admitted he'd been in contact with her after she left my house, texting, calling. He said it was nothing. I didn't believe him, and I ended the engagement.
So the fiancé is gone and the $4,000 is gone.
Yes, ma'am. I lost both.
Did Marcus have access to your savings account?
He did not, ma'am. It was a separate account I kept in my name only. I was actually planning to add him after the wedding. He didn't have the account number, the routing number, nothing. It was completely separate from our joint everyday account.
But Rochelle, who used your laptop, had potential access to the saved login.
Yes, ma'am, and she knew about the account because I told her about it personally.
Rochelle, I want you to think carefully before you answer this. During the 7 months you lived with Denise, did you ever use her laptop to look at her financial information, accidentally, out of curiosity, for any reason at all?
No, ma'am. I used it for job searching and personal email. Nothing else.
At any point, did you see her account information on the screen? A balance? An account number? Anything?
No, ma'am.
So you're telling me you had zero access, zero knowledge, zero opportunity?
That's correct, ma'am.
But earlier you said you don't remember whether Denise mentioned the savings account to you specifically. Those two things are inconsistent, Rochelle. You can't say you had no knowledge and also say you don't remember what she told you. Pick a lane.
What I mean is that whatever she may have mentioned in passing, I wasn't paying close attention, and I certainly didn't retain any account details from a casual conversation.
So now you're saying she may have mentioned it, but you didn't retain the details. That is very different from, I don't recall her mentioning savings at all, which is what you said 15 minutes ago.
Ma'am, I'm trying to be accurate. I'm not trying to contradict myself.
The problem is you are contradicting yourself, and I'm the one keeping track. Denise, how long before Rochelle left did you have that porch conversation about the wedding fund?
I'd say about 3 months before she left, ma'am. It was a warm night, late spring. We were talking about the wedding, about what kind of ceremony I wanted, how Marcus and I had been saving. I remember telling her the exact amount because she asked. She said, like, "Girl, how much you got in there?" And I told her. I trusted her.
She asked specifically.
Yes, ma'am. She initiated that part of the conversation.
Rochelle, did you ask her how much was in the savings account?
I may have asked a general question, ma'am, like expressing interest in her plans. Not because I was calculating anything. I was being a supportive friend.
So you do remember asking about it?
Possibly, yes, ma'am.
Possibly, yes. So you went from, I don't recall the specifics, to I may have asked in the course of about 20 minutes. I'll tell you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing someone who is editing their memory in real time based on what I'm pushing back on. That is a problem for your credibility.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to be evasive. I'm genuinely trying to recall things from months ago. It's hard to remember every conversation exactly.
It is hard, but here's what I notice. Denise remembers that conversation with remarkable precision. The warm night, the porch, the question you asked, the answer she gave. You remember almost nothing about it. In my experience, people who remember very little about specific conversations often remember very little because the conversation was not important to them, or because they have a very specific reason to want it to be vague.
Or because I genuinely don't have a perfect memory, ma'am.
Sure, let's talk about Marcus. When did you two start communicating after you left the house?
He reached out to me, ma'am, about a week after I moved out. He said he was checking on me because he knew the situation between me and Denise had been hard.
Her fiancé reached out to check on you.
Yes, ma'am. He's a kind person.
He's a kind person. Did Denise know he was reaching out to you?
I don't know what he told her, ma'am. That was between them.
Did you tell Denise that her fiancé was texting you?
No, ma'am. I figured it would just create more drama.
You figured it would create more drama, so you kept it secret.
I didn't hide it on purpose. I just didn't bring it up.
Not bringing something up is hiding it. We don't have to dress it up. You were communicating with her fiancé in secret after you left her house, after she already had concerns about you and Marcus, and you thought the right call was to not mention it.
When you put it that way, ma'am, I understand how it looks. But our conversations were innocent.
Denise, has Marcus told you what their conversations were about?
He said they were just catching up. He couldn't tell me specifics. He said it wasn't a big deal. That's when I knew it was a very big deal, ma'am.
How much does the relationship with Marcus factor into why you're suing her? Be honest.
Ma'am, I want to be clear. I am suing her for my money, $4,260. I'm not here because of Marcus. I'm here because I had a savings account and the money is gone, and she is the person with the most access, the most knowledge, and, in my honest opinion, the most motive. If it was just about Marcus, I would have let it go. But that's my money. That was supposed to be my wedding.
That was supposed to be your wedding, and instead you're standing in court. I understand. Rochelle, I want you to explain something to me. You lived rent-free in her home for 7 months. You paid almost nothing toward utilities. She fed you. She trusted you. What did you give her in return?
I gave her friendship, ma'am. Company. I helped out around the house. I cooked sometimes. I cleaned. I was there for her emotionally. I thought that counted for something.
Did you ever at any point say to her, "Thank you for doing this for me. You've saved my life and I'm going to make this right when I get on my feet"?
I said things to that effect, ma'am. Yes.
And then you left while she was at work, while her secondary ID went missing. 3 weeks before she discovered $4,000 was gone from a savings account you knew about and may have asked about specifically.
Those are a lot of coincidences put together, ma'am. That doesn't make me guilty.
You're right. Coincidences alone don't make you guilty. But I'm not in a criminal courtroom. I'm in a civil proceeding, and I'm deciding what is more likely than not based on everything in front of me. Let me tell you what I have. I have a woman who was broke, living free, knew about a savings account, had access to a laptop with saved banking credentials, was alone in the house on the day she left, had a missing ID discovered from a drawer that was found open that morning, and was simultaneously conducting a secret friendship with the other woman's fiancé. That is not one coincidence. That is a pattern.
Ma'am, I swear to you on everything I have that I did not take her money.
You swear on everything you have. What exactly do you have right now, Rochelle? Because from what I can tell, you still don't have an apartment of your own. You're still staying with your cousin. You still don't have steady income. And $4,000 would have made a very significant difference in your situation.
That doesn't mean I took it, ma'am.
No, but it explains the motive clearly. Denise, is there anything else you want me to know before I make my decision?